Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Julia King, a contributing editor at CIO, and today I have with me Sarah Benedum, who is CIO at Novanta Inc. Novanta is headquartered in Bedford, Massachusetts, has 2,700 employees worldwide, and deep expertise in photonics, vision, and precision motor technologies. Novanta engineers mission-critical core components and subsystems that deliver extreme precision and performance to the medical device and equipment industry. Sarah, welcome. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Julia. Good to be here.
Good. Well, let's dive right in. We want to talk about data analytics and your journey of going from a greenfield operation to where you are today. So let's start with the business requirements for data analytics at Novanta. I understand that when you joined the company in 2019, there was very little in place insofar as business intelligence, data analytics. Executives didn't have reporting capability, or you couldn't even roll up the data. So start us off here with a little before snapshot, if you will, and take us to the beginning of your journey.
Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. I think my team and I are very proud of our transformation that really started in 2019. When I joined, we had what we call, from the three pillars from the maturity in the BI solutions, were report centric. So, for example, there was a lot of silo data everywhere throughout the organization, and everyone was doing their own reporting. So what it ended up happening is that there were lots of, when it was monthly or quarterly combined meetings, there were really not apple to apples being compared from the definition perspective. And it was also a lot of churning for the different groups to come up with those data on the weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis. And it was definitely from the business side, it was a lot of inefficiency from getting data to the point that it was presentable to the different audiences. So that was a big business problem, but at the same time, where do you start? So we started as from the very focused business case. So what we end up doing is we selected three different groups that we would partner with to prove the proof of scenario for the different elements to showcase that how centralization of data can be efficient, can be helpful, and for the overall company would be a good roadmap. Because as you know, if you don't build the trust within the stakeholders and really prove that you could help themselves, that's like the first level of the cultural shift that you could make it happen. So we did that. We partnered with the three different business groups. It took us about 6 months to do the proof of concept for three different business units. And with that, it was highly successful. In fact, the ROI was so high that we gained the trust of our executives to invest in a platform for us to begin the centralization of data. Now, that journey from the report centric moved into the BI maturity, which is the next step, and I'm sure you have more questions to ask.
Well, I wanted to just back up for a moment. I know that we had talked earlier, and you had mentioned that there was a good deal of skepticism or even resistance to BI and data analytics, that there wasn't a lot of trust in the process, as we say here. So tell me a little bit about that and how you encountered it and why you encountered it and how you addressed it.
No, so I will double click on what I just mentioned about the trust and the culture. I think when it comes to reporting and analytics or BI, there's definitely in order to gain the trust of the team members, you have to be able to educate as well to let them know that just the data reporting and having access to data from a centralized view does not mean that your data is necessarily accurate, because if you don't input the data in correctly, then you will get garbage in, garbage out. So, and I think educating the team members when we're doing these proof of concept is that don't expect a miracle. What we are facilitating is from the mapping perspective, from the we had multitude of ERP systems that we have to map and the data sources. We could do all of that mapping and the validation with you, but at the end of the day, if the underlying data is not accurate, it's nothing to do with the mechanism to provide that, but rather the cleanup effort. So that established that level of understanding that yes, we have a master data issue in some of the areas, and we have to clean up the data. But this gives us a mechanism to do that. And I think when you're transparent and you are educating your business in terms of what the expectation of the BI tool can deliver at the end, it's also mention the things that might go wrong, and that's how you build trust.
Tell us a little bit about your team that implemented this and that worked on those proof of concept projects. And here I'm also I'd love for you to address the goal of making BI and analytic capabilities accessible to anyone in the organization, not just IT or not just at the executive level. Perhaps you could start with your team.
Sure. So we were a team of two. I was part-time working on, and I had one data scientist that was helping. So we started with 1.5 person in 2019 to do the proof of concept. So from my team member that he's now director of the BI BI community, as well as the BI platform in Novanta. It was, you don't need a big team. Essentially, you just need to make sure that you are effective. So we picked 3 different areas, and between him and I and our business, we started building that what the requests were from that POC cases, and then demonstrating the demo, and how that built up to now, we're a team of 5, I believe, globally, and we're able to not only just for our data modeling and data transformation that this team does, we're also set up what we call a BI Center of Excellence. What we do is we train, we have workshops and seminars on a monthly basis that the team members across Novanta can join to learn about how they could leverage these data marts or data sources in order to build their own reporting. So we have a visualization layer that we're teaching different groups of, among our organization to learn. So it has evolved from 2019 to right now 2023, from the maturity scale with having nothing and a silo data sets of spreadsheets and everyone doing their own thing, to centralized based on KPIs and the trust in what they're receiving from the data, and trust the source, no matter where they come from, and prior issues that they might have with the BI reporting. But now we have this BI Center of Excellence 2 that I think the last time that the team met, close to 50 people attended, and they're learning how to visualize data on their own. So they don't really need IT other than the data marts in order to build their own dashboards.
So Sarah, looking back on it, what would you say your primary challenges were with this project? I know that Novanta is a company that has grown by acquisition. I think you had mentioned that there are 15 or 17 different ERP systems. Tell us a little bit about the technology challenges and integration challenges you faced and how you addressed those.
Yes, so we still have 17 different ERP systems, Julia, and Novanta is a very acquisitive company. So this is going to be it's an ongoing challenge. I think from the technical aspect, my team is pretty familiar with the different backend technology for the mainstream ERP. But if we come across an ERP that it's not necessarily mainstream, so the team will have challenges in order to get into the back end and integrating the data and understanding of the relational data to connect them to our central data lake that we currently have. So that's kind of known understanding that we may come across that we have in the past, and we figure out a way. So the team is pretty resilient at coming up, but I think that's going to be an ongoing technical risk that we will have, and we need to overcome that. From the kind of master data management, which I touched on and in the previous question, that's also its ongoing journey. So what we understood back in 2019, that there were some data that, when people don't see what they're inputting, they often kind of forget different variation of how many ways you could, say United States. There's, or, from the address perspective or the customer's perspective. But I think with the visibility we provided in 2019 through some of those business cases, and now to the entire group, they see this discrepancy from the data duplication, and so that gained the visibility and movement for the data governance that is spun off across Novanta, along with the BI platform and reporting. It's a work in progress. We're discovering more and more, but it definitely helps to have the visibility and the correction. So the data governance, from the data stewardship to data ownership, helps with, the cleaning up the data, with integrating the data mapping, so which in turn helps the BI team to do a better job from the data mapping and transforming in order to publish these data marks. So it's work in progress, but I think it's one that would never end.
Well, we started off talking about business requirements, and part of what I'm really interested here is decision making and how that may have changed from 2019 until now. I know you said the proof of concept was in HR, finance, so I think supply chain.
Supply chain, yes.
Supply chain, yeah. How do those business units operate now compared to when you first came to Novanta in 2019, now that they have this capability?
So I would say now we are able to do data-driven decisions within each business unit. We even have a Novanta level, at the CEO level, the what we call revenue dashboard. So CEO and C management team can take a look at that dashboard and drill down and see for all the different groups and business units, where are they from? Obviously we're manufacturing from the backlog perspective, and where are we from, revenue recognition. So essentially has the sales and backlog information of where we are per quarter from the revenue perspective. So we went from, I think our management receiving it on a quarterly basis and yearly basis, roll up with many people working on this roll up to eventually roll it up to them. Now they could just click on the dashboard and it's near real-time data. And that's really powerful.
Interesting. So looking ahead, what's on your radar in terms of BI and as far as data capabilities? What kinds of projects do you have in the works?
So I think the next part of the maturity for us is predictive analytics. So now that we have gained enough data and momentum from, I would say 2019 was the proof of concept year, and then 2020 really started. So we have good 2 years plus now under our belts from the data perspective. So the team is focus on two main things this year. So, obviously we get requests for the data mart, so that's part of the growing the business. But we are wanted to empower the more and more data analytics competency within Novanta. So we really focus on training. We have two separate training. We have for beginners and intermediate. So we provide those. So we're focused on that aspect. And then the second aspect is how do we engage in, I know AI term has been used, in many different meanings for different audiences, but I think we wanted to get to more predictive analytics in order to predict if this shipment does not go through when, and or some delay happens, we could predict when would the customer receive it, for example. So we have enough data in our belt to do that. Now, which mechanism or which technology we use, that that's this year for us to assess and be closer to like a next Amazon to predict, to our customers, well, you bought this one, would you like to buy this now? So that's the kind of next step for us for BI.
Well, finally, I always like to ask CIOs what sort of guidance they have or tips they might have after completing a big project like this or acquiring a whole new capability. Can you tell us any tips you might have about building a strong data foundation and expanding it as you have?
Yes, I would say that these type of transformation, depending on the organization that you belong, and people come from a different aspect of understanding what the BI and BI platform are. If you're receiving no, when you're proposing these type of programs, don't be discouraged, because I think, and try to understand where that no is coming from. And try to answer those questions, because these type of transformation are truly not just technology driven, but they're people and process driven. And change does not come easy, no matter which organization you're at. So when you're talking about data, there's a lot of, change that could happen from the way that the people are working to how they manage the data and how you're reporting and making decision for data. So it's integral for any business. So when you're making this proposal, try to answer the question. But if you receive no, don't be scared. Go back and try, why there was a no, and don't be discouraged, because the first no, second no, eventually you could do always something to understand beyond that and keep at it, because I have received no throughout my career, but I think, if you're a firm believer that this will have a huge impact in your business, you just have to have the tenacity to just go after it and try to understand it, try to explain it and educate, and to get that momentum. And once you prove that, then the rest is history.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much. It's just terrific talking with you, and we really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you for having me.